Hello and welcome back to episode 10 of this Let's Play on Greenlands. Today, it might be a bit of a split episode. What I want to do is be able to fertilise our fields and go and put our silage in the BGA. However, we can't work on the fields because they're frozen. So that leaves us with an issue. I'm going to go over to the BGA and, well, even then, I can't start loading them till about 6 because then I know that they're all, well, there's one of them. One of them was 6 o'clock, the rest of them was 4. So yeah, I'm going to struggle to have anything to do really for the rest of this in-game day. Which might mean for the rest of winter as well, if it's going to be frozen like this for the rest of it. When we stop at the BJ, we'll have a look what the forecast is and then we'll be able to go from there, but it doesn't look like there'll be anything. Well, we certainly, contract-wise, we can't fertilise, can we? Or sow, or plough. You can still cut grass, can't you? I'm sure you can still cut grass. Right, so all them will be ready around about 4. There was one of these that was 2 hours later. Right, well that's silage now. That's got 3 hours to go. Right, and that's silage. So are all these ready as well then? No. So what we'll do, we'll jump to almost 3 hours, 5 o'clock, and then the rest, everything should be ready. Back at the farm, and another confession to make. This is now post-com. The reason for this is because this, for the second time in about, I don't know, was it 5 videos, something like that? I recorded a full segment with my controller on mute. So these next 4 minutes is all going to be post-com, and quite a bit of after actually, because like I've mentioned in some of the other videos, I play quite a lot at a time and then come to edit. So that's what's happened basically. I've come to edit, realised it's in mute. So I've had to, well, I'm going to have to try to remember what I was talking about at the time. So going in here, I think I'm showing how much we got from the BGA. So there's a harvest income there, and then the BGA of just under 30 grand. The harvest income was just under 18, wasn't it? Or between 17 and 18. One of the things that I was talking about was I skipped between the part of winter what we were in. I can't remember if we were in middle of winter or end of winter, and I skipped into spring because nothing changed. And especially with us only playing 3-day seasons, literally nothing changed. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't work in our fields. I'd done our contract. Even the contracts, it was impossible to do because the ground was frozen, and because there were so few days, that didn't change. So yeah, it was with us having no animals, we literally had nothing to do. Another thing that I've mentioned on here as well is I've now changed it back to 6-day seasons, which is something I normally play and something I think I'm more comfortable with as well. I only originally put it on to 3-day seasons to try to progress the series a bit, but yeah, that's back to 6 now, so we should see a bit more variety within the map and within the conditions of the map. One of the other reasons I've changed it as well is because there was fields, not that we owned, but there was fields on here that weren't progressing. So there were, I think they were all sort of, they were the potato and sugar beet. They weren't getting ready to harvest. So yeah, that's another reason why I've changed it back to 3, from 3 to 6. Sorry. This here, I've decided to sell this windrower. That's why I brought it up. I didn't like it at all. To be fair, before I bought it, I knew I didn't like it, but I just sort of thought I'd grin and bear because it's quite cheap. So we're going to have to do something else with the mower setup. What did we get for that? Just under 6 grand back for that. So that's something we're going to have to look at. And I believe once I park up here, I think I'll show you the contract that we're about to do, which is a fertilising contract. Yep, it's that one there. It's actually the field that we were looking at. I think it was in the last video. It was the big field on the right hand side that we were driving past. Yep, so that's that one done. We'll go straight into the next clip. So we hooked up and filled up with fertilizer. Just get ourselves out of here. I think the gate to this field's all the way down the bottom. Right, we'll go down to the corner and we'll start from here. Despite changing to the 6-day seasons, I'm still going to do the just one contractor season, I think. Right, I'm going to put this on time lapse, and when we come back we'll collect and possibly look to see what we're going to spend our money on. Well, that didn't take too long at all, really. Looking at the recording, it took about 8 minutes. I expected a bit longer than that, because it's a fairly big field. So, case Puma, that's what we were using. So there you can see the total's 13,879. That's with a reimbursement of just over 4,000 for the seed that's left in it. So we'll collect on that. Okay, so before we go into buying the piece of land or looking at a piece of land that we're potentially going to get, I just want to get at least these 2 grass fields fertilised. The reason I'm going to do that is because I think the episode's going to be quite long as it is. Just with it spanning from the, when was it? Was it in autumn? No, winter, sorry. Just with it spanning from winter through to early spring, then given the changes we've made as well. I'm very much aware that whatever field we're going to get is going to need ploughing. So I didn't want to start half of that now, then have to stop the video because of how long it's going to be. And when I say stop the video, I mean put it over 2 videos rather than just in the single one. So if I get this done now, we'll look at what field we're going to get, and then that'll be the last thing we do for this particular video. And then the next video we'll do on this will be us seeing to the fields. Plus we need to get this fertilised anyway, ready for the first cut. Obviously that's going to provide us with our next lot of funds, other than maybe a contract that we do in between. I don't know whether now that we've gone to 6-day seasons, to up it to 2 contracts per season. Something I'll have to have a think about. I mean, I know 2 contracts still isn't much. I mean, when I first started playing FS, basically contracts is all I would do. I'd do every single contract on the map while I was waiting for sort of my fields to progress. I'd leave a worker on my fields doing whatever, and then I would just blitz through the contracts. I mean, a lot of that was me learning how to play the game rather than sort of getting maximum enjoyment. I say maximum enjoyment, it's how I was enjoying it at the time, and I think that's because it was how I was learning how to play the game. Obviously I play very differently now. I mean, those early games on maps like Ravenport, just things like field flipping, I would absolutely abuse that little sort of workaround. Make sure that in harvest time you would get every single field. Take the maximum loan you can each day. Harvest every field and then pay the loan back at the end of the day so you don't pay interest. That was pretty much how I started playing the game. I think, if I remember right, Purbeck Valley Farm was probably the first one that I'd stopped doing that on. Definitely Ravenport, definitely Felsborough. But I think by the time Purbeck had come out, I was more in line to playing how I play now. And I do get much more enjoyment out of it now, the way starting off with very little and working up that way. Hence the reason why I started on Jack Pine. Before I started recording Jack Pine, No Man's Land was obviously one of the sort of maps that's built perfectly for that. However, I'd had, just in my sort of personal plays, I spent a ridiculous amount of time on No Man's Land. So I didn't want to start the same map again. Right, we'll get this last little bit done in the middle. I might go and quickly spray our arable field. Yeah, that's not going to turn like that. I'm going to say as well, once we decide on which bit of land we get, I'm going to have a look to see what we can do about the tractor situation. I don't particularly want to drop horsepower, but it might be something we have to do. If it means getting a more suitable tractor for this particular map. That's one of the fields I'm considering now. It's tiny. I say it's tiny. It's bigger than our little one over there. But it's really cheap. And I know the few bales I'd get off it, I think I'd start making profit off that more or quicker than what I would off some of the others. I hadn't planned on doing this one, but I just thought while we're at it, we may as well get it out the way, because if we do buy an arable field, then whichever one it is, it's going to be a decent sized job ploughing it. And this one will need cultivating as well. So yeah, when I'm talking about buying another tractor, I need to factor in that as well. I'm going to need to get a cultivator, because at the minute I've only got that 5-foot row plough. And I don't fancy reploughing this field if I don't need to. Like I said in, I think it was episode 1 actually, it's easily one of my most hated things to do in this game. I probably mentioned it before, but there's a really nice little plot that would have been a really good starting point. However, just this one here with that tiny little field. However, I just don't think we would have progressed very quickly. I mean, it's almost perfect for something like a role player. It's got the house attached. That little cabin, I don't think you can interact with it. I think it's just sort of set how it is. I don't think you can store anything in there, but yeah, it would make a great start for a role player. Got a little bit of grass around it as well. Maybe room to put a couple of placeables. I think it would be ideal, wouldn't it? I know I mentioned it in one of the, I don't even know if it was this episode or whether it was this episode, this series, or whether it was Jack Pine, I can't remember. It was one of the very first ones. But I would love to do a roleplay on here. Not so much as map, I would just mean on the game. I've got the best part of, I don't know how many episodes it would take, but a lot written. I've got 2 different maps set up for it. I need to remember that this does not turn. Yeah, so some sort of roleplay might be something I do in the future. I think it is a little bit restricted on console compared to having it on PC. I think when you go on, for those that aren't on PS5, PS5 has its own editing tool called Share Factory. So obviously it's relatively new, with the PlayStation only come out in November, I think the release date was. I'm sure there's an advert on there saying that, actually on SharePlay itself, saying that there's going to be more things like more sound effects and music and stuff coming out for it, but I have no idea when that's going to be. Right, see if this will work this time. No, it's not. It's too small an area, isn't it? Right, one more bit just over to the right there. I think the rest of them are too small. You can just see that little bit left on the map. We'll get this done. If it'll spray, yeah it is. Right, let's have a look. So that's the field I was talking about, 34,000. Which means we would need a field for under 100. Which that one certainly is. And that would leave us with some money. We need some money left regardless for things like leasing. I mean, that's way out. But I mean, would buying 2 grass fields, 3 grass fields. No, 2 grass fields it would be. Unless we go. It's at the back of them houses. $114. I mean, financially, one would be really good because then it would leave us with 15,000 for leasing equipment or buying new equipment, buying fertilizer, things like that. And it might be that after we've sold the first lot of bales, maybe do one more contract, we can buy one of them too. Right, I'm going to go with field 83. 114,480. We'll buy that one. And in our next video, that's what we'll go and have a look at it. So I know today's been a bit of a disjointed one. It was just as I explained at the beginning, it's the way things have worked out. Just obviously as I'm finding my feet with this first series. So thanks a lot for joining us, and I'll see you again soon.